This is the Pro Perspective from House Pro, where home builders, designers, and industry experts share their views on running a modern firm.
In today's episode of the Pro Perspective, we're talking to Jon and Sadie Whitener, owners of Legacy Builders in California. I think you're really going to be inspired by how this husband and wife team grew their business from scratch to $12 million in revenue by thinking differently and by really thinking big. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pro Perspective. Today, I'm talking with Jon and Sadie Whitener, owners of Legacy Builders in Templeton in the Central Coast area of California. Their approach to thinking differently and thinking big has really helped them grow, I think, probably faster than the average new firm, and I'm excited to share their story with you today. Jon and Sadie, welcome, and maybe share a little bit about yourselves and your business to get us started.
Hello, we're so excited to be on the podcast. Thank you for having us. We appreciate that.
Any chance we have to talk about our business, we jump that. So
it feels natural and organic. So I really like talking about it.
We're a husband-wife team. We started our business 8 years ago now. Grown it pretty fast in an area that we're not from, which was a little nerve-wracking. We do custom builds, ADOs, new construction.
You name it, we do it, essentially. Yeah. Tearing down houses, down the studs, putting a second story on, maybe even 3 stories too as well. We like a good challenge. So we don't take every job that comes our way, but any job that's challenging, we really like to kind of see what we can do.
We also have a production framing division where we frame for large developers in the area on tract homes.
We always thought too, you can't beat them, maybe join them. Someone's going to be doing the framing, and with our license, we're allowed to do framing. And there's money out there and different ways to get creative to make another revenue stream. And that's what we decided to kind of jump into and create a division.
It's so interesting because lots of folks go out on their own, and we'll get, I think, more into your backgrounds, but Jon, I know you were working with another firm previously and decided to start your own business we'll talk about Sadie's background too, because I think it's super interesting. But, most people who go out on their own either don't make it or don't get to the level that the two of you have done. And you're not even done, right? You keep adding things to the business. You have such an entrepreneurial mindset. So I want to get into a little bit about the why, but I know, just to set the stage, it wasn't, gangbusters from day one. So maybe talk a little bit about the
very small goal, it's just me. And we just had the twins, and I was in the mindset of, I got to do anything I can to feed my family. So I started very, very small, started with a hall bathroom for a guy here in San Luis Obispo, where we're from. And one thing led to another, and we got a referral to one of his friends to do kitchen, and got kind of expanding. And next thing you know, we were building houses.
But scooting back a little bit from that, so he had mentioned the twins. So I was out on maternity leave after having the kids, and I was able to listen and be a lot more involved in his day-to-day just because I was home. So hearing his frustrations with his previous company, it just kind of got my wheels turning. I wouldn't want to work every day somewhere that I didn't feel proud to go.
Yeah.
And that did things different from the way I would do them from a morale point of view or just a business point of view. So it was really just the light bulb of, we are in a position now where, yes, we have kids, yes, we have a family, but if we don't try it now, we're never going to try it. So sometimes it's like the right time is yesterday. And so it was just a point where it's like, if we don't try this now, we're going to limit ourselves. We're going to have more kids, a bigger house, more overhead of just life, more stress.
Stress doesn't go away. It's always there.
Yeah. So we were overwhelmed already with family life. So we might as well just throw in trying to start a business. I knew that if it didn't work out, I could go back to work after.
I think that was the biggest thing, just having my wife or even just any business partner support you in ideas that you may have. And I was more afraid, of failing. And she's like, what's the worst outcomes? We fail, we just retry, just start over again. And I think that was kind of like a light bulb for me to kind of believe in my own self, to push myself to say, okay, cool, we can remodel this whole house. I've done it with the previous company, but never by myself, And so I think leaning on somebody, whether it's your spouse or just business partner, it's always great to have that because, you know, you build the confidence, trust each other, and it shows at your work. And when you're done, you're like, oh man, that actually did work out. So it's pretty cool.
I love that you guys have that support system in place. I mean, it's such a lovely story for you as a couple, but I agree for anyone looking for a business partner, right? You're looking for somebody that's going to be a good complement and get you through those tougher times. Before we get into kind of the backgrounds and how you guys did things differently, maybe we talk a little bit about the tough times because I know you did struggle a little bit initially. Maybe let's start there. What were some of the things that didn't go well up front that you did have to bounce
Living
back
and
from?
learning, you know, I think that's the biggest thing. And learn fast and try not to live too much, you know, when you make a mistake, own it and try to learn from it. I've had, you know, I was changing out a shower valve and forgot to turn off the water, or, you know, just certain things that is super embarrassing, you know, to really think about it nowadays because you know, we just know so much that you make bonehead mistakes and it's okay, you know, you make those mistakes so you can learn from it. And again, we made a ton of mistakes, lost a lot of money learning. We actually did one job where we messed it up and took some ownership of it, obviously. And actually, at a time when we had no money to kind of waste, and we spent about $10,000 extra. So in the red there. That customer referred us to, I think, 10 plus jobs because her review started. It was such a positive review where it was kind of negative at first. And then at the end of it, she's like, well, and then they came and replaced it all. Now the shower works great. And I have nothing but positive things to say that this company will come back if something were to happen, you know, and you can trust them.
And I think from a business point of view too, we struggled a lot with Jon was putting a lot on his plate and thinking that he had to be the one to do everything.
Like I had to be there, you know, the homeowner expected me there. Like, okay, you're going to be the one building this. And I took pride in it. I was like, yeah, of course. And then putting that stress on the plate.
Yeah. And I think just stepping back and realizing when you're doing billing at night and you're missing out on scheduled meetings because you forgot because you were doing something else and you're spread too thin, I think it's really important to step back in your business and evaluate it from, I guess, an outsider's point of view. Or if you just start to think about what's my least favorite part of my job, you'll start to see the cracks in your business and not being afraid to pivot and try something different. We had visions of what we were going to do, and we've deviated so much from that over the years because we're like, yes, we had this goal in mind. We had this, we knew it was going to work, but we realized quickly it wasn't. So we changed quick, you know? I think getting in that mindset of you just have to push through,
you know?
Yeah.
Life happens and things change.
Yeah.
You have to be okay, you know, with that. And it doesn't mean one thing or another. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you succeeded. It just means there's something that you got to pivot from and adapt and grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's it's interesting, Sadie, that you mentioned kind of that outsider's point of view because you came from a background outside of construction. You were in customer service. So maybe talk a lot about like how that perspective affected how you've approached this business.
Yeah, so I worked for a lot of different companies, but I was a store manager with Starbucks, and then I got recruited over to Nike in management and working for companies that are relatively new. I know everybody knows the name, but they're at the time they were 30 to 40 years old as a company, and just working somewhere that I felt so proud to put on the uniform or the logo or serve the drink or whatever it was made me feel good as an employee, as a person. And so seeing it from the different side where he didn't even want to tell people where he worked because he was embarrassed.
A little embarrassed, you know?
It was just so night and day for me because I just felt like I could never work for a company like that after having worked for companies that I was proud to be a part of.
And seeing her pride, that the pride and joy that she took into it, you know, she told everybody where she worked, you know, and it was just cool. It was just a cool thing to kind of see.
And Nike especially, they invested so much into their employees. I went all over the country. I visited Nike headquarters. It's ways that they invested to make me a better employee and person, I guess, that I knew that I wanted to bring that to our company as well. Like I didn't want just employees who showed up, clocked in, clocked out, and left. I wanted people who were proud to put on their uniform, proud to pull up in their trucks, proud to do the homes that they were doing. It just meant a lot to
I think
me.
that was the huge part with me, because with construction where I was from, they were kind of, their name was a name. It was like a placeholder. It wasn't a brand. It wasn't an image. And so I think that's where our collabing was really cool to kind of see how we made that work together.
And from customer service point of view, what's the difference between selling a pair of shoes and selling $1 million job? Like, yeah, there's a price difference, right? But Nike, you trust that you're going to buy those shoes and they're going to deliver. So it's like, how do we establish that same trust that we as a company hold ourselves to a certain standard and they can expect that? And then that way we can sell easier and with a better conscience, knowing that we're really focused on ourselves and our team delivering on our promises.
So I love how you have this sort of thinking different approach, and we're going to talk about a few of the different things where you brought a different approach. And one of the things I like about how you guys think is that you're not looking for one silver bullet, right? It was never like, oh, we're going to find the one thing. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, there's one thing and it's going to completely change how I run my business or how successful I am. And I think instead you guys are kind of in this sort of constant optimization mode. It might not be what you originally had an idea for, but you're always looking, for different areas, and they might all be small things, but altogether they add up into, right, this brand and this way of doing things. One of the things that the stories that I liked was, thinking about, hey, there's a lot of firms out there, right? We're in California. There are people that serve high-end market. Why should somebody hire us? And maybe you can share the story about maybe how you got into Cost Plus and just that idea of putting yourself into the outsider or the customer's shoes and what that experience is like.
I think it all goes down to trust, right? You're going to spend a lot of money with me, whether that's $10,000, hundreds of thousands, or millions, And I think that trust is so important. And the transparency is a great way to build that trust. And I feel like that's when the Cost Plus came into hand, or into play. And Sadie kind of elaborate on that.
I came from not a construction background at all. Obviously, I didn't know a lot of even the basics. So the more I got involved in the company, there were lots of terms or ideas or names thrown out that I had to be like, pause, don't know what you're talking about. Can you explain that more? And I think coming from a place where I didn't know these things and I needed people to explain them to me in a way that made sense and didn't feel, we talk a lot about like mansplaining. I never want to be mansplained to. Yeah. And so conditioning our employees and our subcontractors that when we have a question, not just women, but anyone who's not familiar with construction, when we have a question, it's because we want to understand how it works and we just need to be
educated.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of headache and drama or frustration that comes from just the customer not understanding the process.
And so we take a step back and say, okay, we didn't do a good job explaining this. It's our fault for not explaining it. And that's why our customer has so many questions, because we need to be as upfront and transparent as we possibly can. And that may be some customers know a lot about construction, some don't. And so just kind of getting there, when you're talking to them, you can see what they do know and what they don't know. So educating in a way that's not so aggressive and sarcastic.
Yeah, we need to meet them where they're at. So if it's somebody who has been a project manager, then we speak to them differently in updates or phone calls or schedules than we would have somebody who's never picked up a hammer or seen a hammer.
Yeah.
But that goes back to like the fixed cost plus. So we originally started out doing fixed cost. And as I was doing the billing, there would be things or questions that would come up that when I would ask the guys to explain it to me so I could explain it to the customer, it didn't feel good. The explanation of the explanation of why this wasn't included, it wasn't a good conversation to have. And a lot of our business, we talk about with ourselves and our employees, like, what's the worst part of your job, your day-to-day, and how can we either give that to somebody who might love that thing, or how can we make it not so bad? Because we want to not have...
It's a combination of both.
The thing I dreaded was having to explain that things were going to be a change order and that they weren't included when somebody had their heart set on them.
And on a fixed price, it's very hard to get that through a customer that they're kind of already shutting down at that point in time. They don't really care why it's not included because they already have their mindset that it was. And so It felt weird. So I was the contractor that wanted to be upfront and honest. I wanted to deliver a product for you, even if I lost a little bit of money. Well, our margins weren't there, and we were losing more money because I was just trying to present a product that I was proud of, just because I wanted them to be happy. So that's the cost bonus.
So yeah, so we thought, well, let's change the structure. Let's do it different than a lot of the other people here are doing it. Some customers might not understand, some contractors might understand, but for us, it was about how can we plan for our business, knowing what kind of markets we're going to get and be able to scale that way instead of the margins being all over the board based on what kind of project or what kind of finish level and things like that.
Assumptions. It takes out a lot of the assumptions.
100%. And I said this earlier to him, but it's like when you have $100 bill and you go to a grocery store, there's a million different ways you can put stuff in your basket to add up to $100, right? Like, so it's the same thing with construction. You might have $1 million hard stop on your construction, and there's so many different ways we can get you there. Maybe saving in some areas that you might not necessarily care about, and spending in areas that you want to spend more in, or you have more visibility in. I always tell the customers, like, we want to spend the money on the pretty stuff.
Yeah.
So let's try to save as much as we can on the stuff that's not fun.
And educating them on what certain things may add to the price. A fixture may change the plumbing scope of work too as well, and they had no idea, So they're like, oh, well, we added, let's just use this as an example, a pop filler. Great. The fixture was $500, $1,000, and that's all they think they spent. Well, the plumber didn't have it in his bid, and so it's just a trickle down effect. So, there's things that we see all the time that we try to do the value engineering. Like, do you really care about this, or do you just like the way it looks? Because we can achieve the same look by doing X, Y, Z. And that's the relationship and the trust that we're trying to build.
We love to be involved from day one with the customers before they even go to an architect, but obviously that's not always the case. So sometimes we'll get a set of plans that are beautiful and have so many cool details, but when you start to talk to the customer, and they have no idea what those plans say.
There's a disconnect.
They know the layout, and that's about it. So I think it's important for us too to be able to have these conversations with the customer, explaining this might look cool, but it's going to affect XYZ costs down the road. And they're like, oh, I don't even care about that. And having those conversations before we even break ground.
Because we see it all the time, over-designed plans, over-designed designs from designers who just want to see their image and name in a house, and the customer doesn't really care about that at all. We try to get our hands on it, and from the start to the finish, and we like to work with the customer. It doesn't matter what your all-in price is, because it's cost plus. You're going to see it no matter what. You're going to see all of our invoices. You're going to see the subcontractors invoiced with our percentage markup, all transparent. You're going to see their bids and everything. And so it doesn't matter if you tell me what your all-in is, because I can give you the best bang for your buck now. And I can tell the designers and the architects, hey, don't over-design this thing, because we only have this much money. We can't design something that's the customer can't build.
I like this approach. I feel like you really respect your customers.
They put all their trust in us because of the way I first initially met them, the feeling, hopefully the gut feeling they got from our first meeting, and they just trust us, and that's awesome. And we have a $4 million build, and they rely on us,
Yeah,
cool.
makes a lot of sense. When we talked earlier, one of the other ways that I thought, you guys had been really thinking differently was also how you build your pipeline. So how are you getting, in addition to referrals, which you've obviously done a good job customer service wise to get those referrals, but reaching out to maybe some unconventional partners to help build that customer pipeline. Maybe share a little bit about that.
That's what I did, right? Yeah, we're builders and we want to build nice homes. So I literally Google architects in SLO County, because that's the county we're in.
We're not from the area, so we didn't have these established relationships, or a company that our grandparents started that might have already had this name and this established reputation in the area. So it's like,
we had to create our own, right? We had to create an image. I'm like,
how do we put our name in people's mouths when they've never heard of us before?
I think I wanted to create a brand when we first started. I'm like, I want this to be something awesome that people want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So
proud. Yeah. And that stems from all levels. So we want subcontractors to be proud that they're working on our projects. We want architects to be able to refer us and know that we're going to deliver their vision. It takes a lot in the industry to refer people out because you're worried about putting your stamp on that, you know? So we want to make sure that the architects or whoever is referring us can feel comfortable and we're going to take care of their customer the way that they did.
So back to your question, yeah. So I just literally Googled, architects near me and looked at their website. I'm like, oh, this is what I want to be a part of. Simple email of just, hey, so-and-so, we're fairly new to the area, been in business for XYZ. Feel free to check out our website, your Instagram or social medias, whatever, anything with photos. And I'd love to take you to get some coffee or some lunch on me, whenever you got time. You would be shocked how many people are like, oh yeah, just come on down to the office. We could just meet and I don't need any coffee. I'd love to meet you. And it's just a face, and it's just so crazy that an email that took me 10 minutes to put together may create new relationships. So then I go have that meeting and I can sell myself great because I believe in myself. But I'm telling you the truth. I'm not selling something that's not real. So I go to that meeting and next thing you know, I get an email from them saying, hey, we have this addition. They want to add 1,000 square feet. Would you be interested? And then they send us the invite and connect us to the homeowner. And we've gotten millions of dollars in leads and opportunities too. We may not win those, but it's an opportunity to get our name out there even more. And so,
yeah, there's been jobs that customers have decided to go a different direction, which is great. Everybody has a contractor. Like, you should trust your gut. If you feel right with somebody, then it wasn't the right customer for us. So we truly believe like what's for us won't pass us. But there's been plenty of customers who haven't gone with us, but are still referring us out because they know somebody who might be a better fit for us.
Maybe we're a little too expensive, or maybe something just didn't click, But yeah, that is true. I think that's a really cool feeling is when you get referrals from people you didn't even do a job for.
Yeah.
And it was just basically based on our gut feeling and your customer service side of things.
Yeah.
And
apart from architects, were there any other channels that you've tried that have been successful?
Yeah, I mean, we actually created our production framing division doing the same exact thing. I Googled developments around me. What housing track is going on? California is trying to do a bunch of affordable housing, and there's so many things popping up right now. And so I'm like, okay, we want to start a production framing division. We have the crew, we have the manpower, the management. Now I have to put it on myself to get that work. So I did the same exact thing. Message them, hey, can I get on your bid list just for an opportunity to put together a framing bid for you? Yeah, sure. We'll put you on our list. Then we'll get opportunities come our way. And we've actually started the production framing division that way. And then we've since created better relationships. We create a standard, and those developers know what that standard is. And it's been going great, Or same thing with designers. We reached out to all the designers, in our area, do the same exact thing. And I recommend this to anybody, whether you're a tile setter trying to expand your business. Literally Google custom home builders near me, ask to get on their bid list, and it's the best advice I can give anybody, because that's been our secret. And it's just helping. If I can get my company name in front of one more face, I'm doing something great, and I'm spreading that out more. So pro tips and advice, do that. It's been the best form of marketing we've ever done, and it's free.
And we do no other marketing. That's the only thing that we've done. We've never paid for ads or anything like that because honestly, we haven't needed to yet, just because of the word of mouth, reaching out, cold calling, things like that. Does production framing make me so excited to go to work? No, but it does bring a different form of revenue that allows us to do bigger and funner jobs because we have that bankroll.
May help kind of explode over maybe a hump that you're at. Maybe you're stuck at a certain number, per year. How do I think outside of the box? Yeah. What am I going to do next? How do I get past it? And that was a great thing for us. It helped us reach another goal.
And after being in the framing and hearing more about that industry, it's like a light bulb of they need more customer focused people like us, we make their job easier by showing up on time, being clean, having an image that we want to stand with, and we want our employees and our framers to have that same image. And so it's just all the other avenues and streams of income that you can think of. If you're doing something different than everyone else, you can stand out in any
just because we're a general contractor doesn't mean I need to build you a house.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things that I can do.
You guys take a real holistic approach to branding. For those listening and maybe not watching this podcast, you're wearing your Legacy Builder shirts and hats, and you've got the logo behind you. Maybe talk a little bit about your approach to branding and the concept of a uniform and why it's important.
The appearance is everything. I mean, to the way we look, to the way we dress, I set the tone and it trickles down, right? Me and Sadie dress a certain way at work, either when we have no meetings. We were just sitting in our office all day long, because I want our staff to kind of see that too, see how we carry ourselves, our image, the way we clean up, if we have beards, they're trimmed, shaved face. So we try to present ourselves the best possible way, even to our vehicles. We don't have free estimates, all our trucks and all this branding and everything. It's a simple logo underneath the side mirror, and it's just clean, easy, nice. I think that's how we want to present ourselves, as professional, clean, respectful, and whether that's what I'm wearing, my hat is clean, not filthy. My truck is clean, not gross. When I open up the door, McDonald's isn't spilling on the side of my truck, and just kind of keeping that professional look. I think appearance, it says a lot too as well.
And you're going into customers' homes, you're presenting yourself. This is probably the biggest purchase they're ever going to make outside of a mortgage. And maybe this is part of the mortgage. But when you show up to their doorstep, you want them to feel comfortable and know that they're spending money on something that, is safe. The people are respectful. It's not going to be, you're not going to be nervous to let these people into your home. And you have a sense of, okay, I'm paying a lot of money, but I'm paying a company who's holding a certain standard across the board and is going to have expectations with their with their employees. And if we expect that of our employees, we expect the same out of our subs. It trickles all the way down. Like, we would never have a sub on our job site who is not wearing a shirt.
Just kind of bringing in all that stuff. It has to have that image. And we've lived and learned at a younger age of the company, and vetted our subs and trust the subs. I tell my customers when we first meet, the people who come in your house, people I've worked with for multiple years, people who come into my own house that I'm not there, and I trust them. I wouldn't send anybody in your house that I don't trust myself. Good job.
Love it. I think what we've talked about to this point is really that thinking different approach of, hey, if we really want to move forward, we need to think about doing things differently in the way that we want to, and with respect for ourselves and respect for our customers. The other sort of theme that I love from you guys is this idea of thinking big. And I hope it's okay to share, but right, you guys have scaled 12 million, right, in a pretty short period of time. So I know, Jon, you said Sadie is really the person in your business and in your relationship that plays this role of thinking big. So Sadie, maybe talk to us a little bit about what your mindset is and what is that interplay between the two of you in terms of thinking big.
Yeah, actually, her and our newly appointed COO, Evan, are the ones who dream wild, and I'm the one who's like, oh my gosh, guys, the sky's falling. I'm the one who's been more cautious. But
I think when you just think about the world in general, or your industry, whatever it is, there's so much money out there, and customers are gonna spend that on something, on someone, So it's like, why wouldn't they spend it on us? And that's just always, I just don't see it as hard to me.
I think like the Nike verse, like some person built this brand to what it is. Like, why can't I built a brand that like, why can't we do that?
And working in a company like Nike, like, you're hearing these big numbers all the time. I worked for a store that did tens of millions of dollars a year, and when you hear these numbers, it's not as scary. I think when you are starting your own company and you're doing the own invoicing and everything like that, and you think of $1 million, you're like, that's overwhelming. That's a huge number. But from my mindset, I'm like, it's just a number, right? So we set really big goals. And then I think it's one thing to set the goal. I think it's another to work backwards from the goal to figure out how to get there. So we can't just say, okay, in 5 years, we're going to do 25 million. We have to say, in 5 years, we're going to do 25 million a year. But now, how do we work backwards and have goalposts to make sure we get there? And I think that really comes from like retail and just learning this those different philosophies. But if your store has to hit a certain amount, you got to do a certain amount per day. You have to make sure that you're having return customers. You have to make sure you're not having returns. Like,
So when we have our staff meetings, these are the ideas we have. It's like, okay, well, we have to get in another $5 million next year. How do we do that as a team? Like, what's our game plan? What's our strategy? What market are we going to hit? Or are we going to open up another division within the company because we have the ability to? What are we going to do? Like, what's going to take us?
You can say the goal and then be like, okay, I said it. Now we're going to hit it, So it's really thinking, so at 25 million, what does our staff look like? What do our roles look like? What is our day-to-day? What kind of office do we need? And those are all things that we start planning for now. So we moved into a bigger office. We're hiring people who can take on more work. We're investing more money into employees who will get us to that next level.
Into our assets.
Yeah. And it's really just coming up with the foundation to where when we hit 25 million, it wasn't by accident. It was because we put everything in place. We set the goalposts that we had benchmarks that we hit along the way to make sure we weren't going off the rails. And if we are, it's a good chance to stop and think about, do we need to go back to the way we were doing things before? Do we need another revenue stream? Do we need another hire?
We try to keep family fit too. So all of our employees, they have to fit our group. This is our passion. This is our family. Like, all of our employees, we do things together. We spoil them. We try to treat them as good as we can because they're assets. They feed us as much as I put food on their table. Without them, I couldn't do any of this because I would be doing bathrooms and kitchens all by myself. So definitely taking pride and joy into our staff is amazing. I think that's what we have to preach that.
I want to circle back to the goalpost, but what did those thinking big conversations look like early days?
Oh, God.
John saying, no, it's not possible.
But yeah. I'm like, how am I going to do that many bathrooms? I can't hang that many doors. Like, what do you...
So the first year when we started, we were talking about the business. We were really trying to come up with a game plan.
Yes.
And we were like, okay, let's throw out a number of what goal we can hit for this first year. And mine was $1 million. And
I said $30,000.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be great.
It's just like, if you set the goals or the bar really low and you hit it, you hit it, but do you feel proud and do you feel like you really stretched yourself in your business to get somewhere new? And it's like,
I talked her into a lower goal the first time. I think our first year, I think we said
250,
like 250,000. And at that point, I'm like, there's no way. So,
and we hit 1.2. So after that first initial year, each year, him and I, and now that we have a COO, our COO, Evan, as well, but we have meetings every year to establish, okay, this is the goal we want to hit. How many bathrooms does that mean? How many customs? How many? We
really take we write legacy at the top with, things coming off of it with a number. And it's like, how many additions do we need to do? How many customs do we need to do? Because customs are great, but they take a long, long time. So, trying to figure that out.
Like he said, our COO has the same mindset I do. And I think that goes back to, how do you make sure you have a successful business? I think having a partner or yin and yang, you don't need somebody exactly like you. You need somebody that brings something different than you. Yeah, and challenges your mindset. So when Evan and I are throwing out these huge numbers,
I'm like this.
Like, it's not scary to us. It's exciting. Where John feels the pressure of that number, we just feel like sky's the limit. Like, if we hit that, how are we going to feel? We're going to be ecstatic that we hit that.
It's hard as a business owner to not put that pressure on you because we have a lot of overhead. We have a lot of families to feed. And so as my job is to go get the work. Evan puts that pressure on himself too as well. But that's where the stress comes on my plate, like, oh God, how am I going to do 25 million? What do I need to do here?
Yeah. And it's the balance. Like, obviously I'm not the one stressing at night about how we're going to pay to feed all the families that work for us. I'm just thinking, oh, this is such high level. This is so fun. We're going to hit this number. So, I mean, it's a yin and yang. I'm the dreamer and he's the realist, but there's a good balance. Yeah.
So how are you making these good decisions to scale? Because obviously you've made a lot of good decisions to scale. Your CEO sounds like one of them. How are you making these choices? What are some of the triggers and kind of what's been the impact of
Good investments, I think.
Yeah.
Employees, you know, I mean, our staff, like bringing in Evan as CEO that was the biggest biggest move Legacy has ever done.
Biggest investment we've made.
I was like, I don't even know if I can afford this guy. And he was actually a friend of mine. I'm like, I don't know if this relationship's going to work. I don't want to lose a friendship here, and I don't want to be broke. So,
but we knew, just speaking of Evan in general, like he brought so much to the table. He went to school for business. He was a contractor as well. He'd worked for a huge developer in the area. So all the things we didn't have, he brought a different
relationship.
Yeah,
Stuff like
he brought a different aspect to the company. And so it was hard to bring him in. But sometimes you have to,
it was scary.
you have to shrink down your ego to be able to grow. And so we had to realize that we have limitations to what we can do, what we know. And if we want to get to the next step, we need to bring in new ideas, because we had kind of hit our max with, I say this, and now we're butting heads, you know? So bringing in that third wheel, the fresh energy was great. And Evan worked out so well that we didn't want to lose him. And so we thought, how can we make sure that he feels the same sense of pride and sense of ownership that we do? And it was a natural decision for us to work out a deal with him where he's starting to get ownership of the company. So every time we hit a specific number per year, he's getting more and more chunk of ownership. And it is scary when you build something from scratch to give that away. But for us, it's like all of $1 million is not as good as a half $25 million, you know? So if you want to hit those bigger numbers, you have to realize that you can't have
let things go. Man.
Yeah, you can't have all of it.
Now I see it as I have another soldier fighting for us, spreading the brand, wanting to get that next development, using his contacts, his friends to just talk more about us. You know, I have another person who's just fighting the good fight for us.
Yeah, now you're 3 instead of 2. Yes, definitely spread around. And I know, you know, we talked about scaling. Software has been another big piece of that. Maybe talk a little bit about kind of House Pro as that partner to the team that you've built.
Well, I think
organization is huge. I feel like if you're not organized, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how many projects you have in the pipeline. If you can't invoice and stay on target and on time, you're just going to sink very, very fast.
And I think it's kind of the same idea as like, we want subcontractors and customers who have similar mindsets we do. We want the project management or whatever software we're using to have that same growth mindset where they want to evolve and improve. And I feel like House really aligns with us.
I feel like House Pro is always evolving, you know, like they remind me of us kind of in a way that they're not settling ever, and they're not okay with just staying stagnant and just doing this like a lead service or hosting side or something, you know. They're like evolving and they're trying to take over, and it's been so cool to be a part of that. And using House Pro has just streamlined everything. I do invoicing from there. We do estimates, project communication, tasks, you know, assignments, contracts now, which is a new feature that just came out. And it was an idea that we kind of helped collab on too. And it was so cool to be a part of that, because I want House Pro to be the next Procore. You know, I want them to take over the world too as well. And because it's not clunky. It's made everything so easy, from customer service interface and having our customers be able to see selections, and it's literally a software all in one. It's awesome.
And I think it goes back to thinking differently. When we were looking for project management software, when we got to the point where we couldn't handle it all through email, we had a lot more
text messages, lost a phone, now I'm screwed, you know.
We had a lot more people involved in each project, so we needed to have one central hub for communication. We did source out all the other big name brands, but when we got into it, it was more of you're hiring just for the name. We would have been paying for a software just because we could say that we used that software, but it wasn't necessarily the right fit for us and how we like to do our business. So being able to think outside of that and just think of the things we really needed and think of the companies that could hit all the marks, it was clear that House could do that for us.
It's just super cool to kind of see it all in one. I think the selections is the coolest thing, because it makes Sadie's job for the company is to handle all of her options and selections and coordinates that all. And she translates that into construction verbiage once the customer has selected everything to make sure our field team knows where to put stuff, the plumbing pipes and everything like that. And I feel like that's, if it makes her happy, it makes me happy. My life's a little less chaotic because my wife is happy with it and our job's a little bit more easy.
And we want anybody to be able to come into our customer. Oh, obviously, I don't come from construction. So there's chances that we're going to end up hiring people who aren't coming from a construction background that we're converting into our company to bring a new point of view. And if we are doing that, we need a software that anybody can pick up and learn easily.
I can learn it. Anybody can learn it.
Yeah, and be able to use it and not have to have a huge learning curve on it. And so House has been really user-friendly for us, for the customer. And so it's really been about what makes our job easier. And
my absolute just last thing for me, my favorite thing about it is if I have a question, comment, concern, issue, whatever, I can literally just go to the chat bubble on the page and talk to somebody just immediately and they fix the issue. And because no software is perfect, everything has its own glitches. But the way House Pros fix the glitches for us with less downtime, I can submit a multi-million-dollar bid in 30 minutes because of the template that I built for it. You know, it's just overall, it's just awesome to kind of see that in the business. Kind of reminds me of ourselves, you know, just trying to adapt.
It aligns with our values as a company. So of course we want to support it.
Yeah. And everyone's been so nice. Like, and we had the privilege of meeting a lot of people within the company and just a salesman. Everybody is just so nice. It's awesome.
So you guys have incredible energy. What, and it can't all be caffeine, what motivates you? What gets you up in the morning? It's Monday morning. I'll tell people it's Monday morning. Yeah. Just, you know, bright-faced and smiling. So tell us more about like what gets you going.
I think the fact that we built something that we're proud of from ground up. In
walking into the new office that's pretty big and that was remodeled, I want everybody to feel that pride too. Like not only just me and her, but it's like I want our remodel foreman to come in here and be happy of what the space looks like. And it's like this image that we're building. It's almost like you walk in and it's kind of the people we work with. It's kind of hard to be in a bad mood, you know, to be honest. It's like we're a tight team, so we'll be like, what's wrong? You having a bad day? Like, let's try and hash this out, you know, to get life or just going in the right direction. I feel like there's kind of nothing to really, even when a job may be going bad or there's an issue, it's not the end of the world, you know, and there's bigger fish to fry. Like we have family, we have kids, we have lives. Everybody's got their own things outside of this job. And I think it's just not sweating the small stuff and it makes us happier, you know, and then we come in there's always a million things on my mind, but I try to lead by example. And if I'm coming in here like Eeyore, depressed, I can't expect my team to feel the energy and to want to do anything here. So
when we first started, we talked a little bit about struggles and things, but when we first started, we had an employee have a bad injury, and it really put everything into perspective for us. So
very, very scary.
Day to day, like when things are going wrong or there's a problem, if it's not life and death, we're able to put it into context a lot easier. You know, if nobody's hurt, anything can be fixed. It's just money. It's just
we had an employee. He finished the house. We were dropping off material. He was backing up, and one of the trucks didn't have a camera. He just kind of assumed he wasn't close to the garage door. Did at the garage door, called me almost crying, you know, and I'm like, oh my, are you okay? Are you dying? Like, what's going on? Like, is somebody dead? And he's like, I accidentally backed in this garage door. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay. You know, we paid whatever it cost to fix it. The customers were happy. You know, it was never going to be a big issue. And I'm like, and the person, I was like, hey, if you are okay, that's all I care about. Like, I don't want you were in a car accident, like something happened. And when it comes down to it, it's like, it's going to be okay. You know, I think when we just come in to our office, we take pride in coming in here and we just try to create a positive energy and vibe in this place because it's going to trickle down everybody on our team, making them happy. You know, there are days that are harder than others. You know, sometimes we're sick, sometimes something happens. But again, like Sadie said, we almost had somebody die. Like that, there's nothing that's ever going to be that serious. And lawsuits, whatever it may be, I'm not dead. You know, no one's gone. And I think that we say that all the time. It's like
It sounds very dramatic, but it really is what help grounds us and makes
it
us
happened at a very, very early stage of our company.
and us understand. Yeah, if we're not gonna, and there's he tends to get worried about things or stress about things a lot, and it's always like if we're not gonna even remember what this thing was in 6 months, a year, 5 years. Let's not give it the energy to overwhelm us today. You know, there's so many things that go wrong. And especially as a husband-wife team, it's been really important to us to be able to leave everything at the office and go home and not have it cross over.
People have asked that, like, how do you guys work together? Is you take it home? I feel like because we work together, we don't take it.
Yeah.
I feel the opposite. It's like, because we can vent about it, talk about work here, and then when we go home, we have kids and family, you know, it's like life goes on. And so I think if it was the opposite, where I didn't have my spouse here, I would just harness it all and I would come just in negative moods because of something that had happened or whatever it may be. And so I feel like the husband-wife thing helps a ton.
And when we really think about our job, yeah, there's bad parts of every job, but our job in particular, it gives us the flexibility to help in our kids' school, go on vacation, take time off when we need it. It affords us a certain level of lifestyle that bad things are going to happen, but you just have to have that perspective of there's no other job I'd rather be doing other than just laying on a beach and not working at all.
So thinking about that, so we've talked about thinking differently. We've talked about thinking big. So the name Legacy Builders, what do you see as the legacy of Legacy Builders?
Yeah, you know, when we came up with the name, we were trying to go over.
Yes, we just had the twins that it was like in the middle of feeding or something like that.
We kept thinking about it, and I just kept going back to like, I want our kids to be proud. I want to leave them a legacy that they're proud of. And so it just clicked.
Because the companies I came from, I wasn't proud of.
Yeah.
So I was like, we're gonna have a construction company. Let's be proud of it.
Yeah, and we started this company 8 years. We're a baby company. So I think naming it Legacy just set another goal for ourselves to live up to that name and create something for our kids, for our employees' kids, everybody in our community to be proud of it and want to be a part of it. Will our kids take it over someday? Probably not. Maybe not. But we want them to see everything we're doing and what we're doing to grow this legacy and legacy as a company, and have them take that into their own lives and their own futures and their own careers.
I want them to know that if they want something special in life, they have to work hard for it. You know, none of this has been easy at all, and we didn't have any handouts, didn't have any family to pass any legacy down to us, and so we're creating that. And when she came up with the name, it was the middle of the night, and she's like, I know the name. And I'm like, what? So she's like, Legacy Builders, because we're building a legacy apartment. I said, awesome, let's go back to bed.
Well, I think that is the perfect thought to wrap this discussion. I can't thank you guys enough. This has been so enlightening, and I know that our listeners and viewers are going to love every minute of your story and hopefully feel the same energy and inspiration that I do talking to you. So thank you again. I wish you guys, all the best and a great week.
If anybody has any questions and whatever, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to share any tips, any struggling advice that you may have.
You ever need a pep talk?
We didn't have those mentors in our life, and so this is kind of where we feel like life is going to be taking us to. So we appreciate being on the podcast, and we love you guys. So hope nothing but the best.
That's an amazing, generous offer. I encourage our listeners and viewers to do just that and keep building the network and helping each other. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you later.
This series is brought to you by House Pro. To learn more about our best-in-class software for winning clients, managing projects, and simplifying your workflow, visit house.com/pro.